Hey, good morning to you. Mark Sutton with HurricaneTrack.com here. Wednesday now, the 15th of November, 2023. On today's update, we're going to talk about this very messy pattern, complicated pattern that's going to bring a lot of rainfall to southeast Florida. A couple of systems down here that we're watching. Non-tropical development for one, sort of tropical for the other one. Just all kinds of things going on. So the best way to describe it, messy pattern. All right, so let's take a look at what we've got. National Hurricane Center to start off with. First, our system down here in the southwest Caribbean never became an invest. It was up to high potential for development a couple of days ago, and never became invest 98. I think this is what it would have been. I don't know if I've ever seen that we had a high chance of development without something being labeled as an invest, but maybe it has and I missed it. Nevertheless, the odds of this developing into a tropical cyclone are decreasing, but that doesn't mean the impacts are decreasing or the odds of impacts occurring are decreasing, and I'll explain further as we move along in the update. This system, pretty interesting, offshore of the southeastern United States, specifically for today and tomorrow, especially the southeast coast of Florida, a non-tropical area of low pressure forecast to develop and then move northeast, could bring some very heavy rain, gusty winds. And again, that's why the thumbnail says messy pattern. It is definitely a messy pattern. So here's what we got a couple days ago. From Monday, this is what the vorticity signature looked like. There's our Gulf low there. There really wasn't much in the Caribbean, and we had a bunch of energy stretched out across the Atlantic. If we look at it 48 hours later, there's our Gulf low, our non-tropical system. It has definitely amplified and gotten more organized down at the lower levels, but it is non-tropical in nature. And again, that's just a classification. Still bringing lots of heavy rain, gusty winds over portions of the east central and northeast Gulf. A little bit of energy now starting to coalesce down there near Panama and Costa Rica. And then just a slight reflection right here off the coast of Florida. We're getting ready to have another low pressure area develop over here. Going to be a very interesting scenario over the next few days. So switch the color to blue here real quick. There's our low pressure area in the Gulf. There's the front associated with it. Classic comma shape. We are starting to get a secondary low pressure area trying to develop in the vicinity of the northwest Bahamas off the coast of Florida. Had a tornado warning for parts of the Keys earlier this morning due to the severe weather down in that area. And then here's our system trying to get together in the southwest Caribbean Sea. So complex, lots going on, very messy overall. Now remember, a couple of days ago, even the Euro was showing that something would try to develop and move out of the Caribbean, maybe through the Greater Antilles. The GFS was doing it for several days as well. Now both models have backed off on something consolidating, but just looking at the cloud shot, you can totally understand there's a lot of energy down here. And this is going to make its way, it's already doing so, up towards Jamaica, Haiti, parts of eastern Cuba, the Bahamas eventually. And so the threat of heavy rain, remember, rain is an impact. I think I'm going to make that into a t-shirt before all is said and done. It's an impact. Heavy rain can cause a lot of problems, and you guys keep that in mind here in southeast Florida. We're going to talk about you much more in just a moment. But yes, even though something might not consolidate and get a name, who cares about the name? The impacts are what's going to matter. In Jamaica, eastern Cuba, the southwest Bahamas, and really with this other system, a good chunk of the Bahamas overall, going to get in the action of a lot of heavy rain. So looking at the GFS, this is from 6Z this morning, 850 millibars in the atmosphere, so about 5,000 feet up. There's our non-tropical low pressure area over the Gulf. A little bit of energy trying to come together down here in the extreme southwest Caribbean, and not much reflection of anything just yet off the coast of Florida. So let's move this out into time, frame by frame. The Gulf low kind of peters out, doesn't really make much forward progress, which is interesting. Like, why? Why does it just kind of stop there? Normally things progress right along. But what happens is we get a secondary area of low pressure developing here, sort of transfers the energy. It's a baroclinic process. It's not driven completely by convection and a warm ocean, but this is trying to consolidate, but the energy is still pretty spread out, so probably not going to become a named storm or anything like that, but again, that doesn't matter. All that energy works its way up through Jamaica and Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Eastern Cuba, the Turks and Caicos, and then out into the Atlantic from there. This is about the next 5 days. Interestingly enough, the Euro, pretty good agreement overall, a little bit more amplified, though, by tomorrow afternoon with this system here in the vicinity of the northwest Bahamas and southeastern Florida. And I'm telling you what, you guys down there in the big metropolitan corridor, the I-95 corridor from West Palm all the way down to Miami, you're going to be in the thick of it with a lot of heavy rain, so be ready for that. We'll examine that more in a minute with a couple of tweets that I want to show you. But overall, just a very convoluted, messy pattern. I use that word a lot today. The big triangle of mess. There you go. Dying low pressure there, strengthening low pressure there. Sort of a hybrid look to it, not purely tropical, not totally extratropical or whatever either. This is just not consolidating. Otherwise, I mean, if it had been earlier in the season, plus you got all this competition for energy up to the north. But the Euro showing everything trying to just, move along and bring all kinds of nasty weather to the region, and a pretty big region at that, from the Caribbean up to Florida and elsewhere. So just a stormy, unsettled pattern before a front finally comes in over the weekend and begins to sweep everything out. Now, before all of that happens, though, moderate risk, and these are really big population areas. You guys know that. West Palm Beach is in the slight risk, but Fort Lauderdale, Miami, down to Homestead, the I-95, you've got the turnpike that runs through here, huge population area down here, and I have already seen it. You probably have seen it yourselves. The videos on social media of the flooding down here, the drainage problems, and more rain is coming. So it is going to be rough going from time to time. In fact, let's take a real quick look at radar scope down in that area, and there you go. I mean, already from Port St. Lucie, cutting across the state all the way over to near Punta Gorda and areas south from there, you're in it. Just a very nasty, at least it's warm. It's not 40 degrees and doing all of this. That's like the worst. But seriously, this is a big, big problem because you have a lot of people down there, and I know I've seen it. You drive fast on those interstates, and you're going to have to just slow down. This has got the makings for flooding and disruption, air traffic coming into Fort Lauderdale, Miami. This is not a good setup, and it's non-tropical. And that's the thing. You got to understand, rain is a hazard, especially when you get a lot of it, and especially over a very densely populated area like southern and southeastern Florida. All right? So just pay attention. That's all I'm asking you to do. There's a lot going on out there. You got to stop sometimes and go, what's the weather going to do and how's it going to impact me? There are a lot of sources out there that hand deliver this to you, quite literally. It's in the palm of your hand with your smartphone, right? So keep on top of this and be ready for it. Interesting stat here. This is my friend Greg Diamond over at Fox Weather. Fort Lauderdale, over 100 inches of rain, and we are going to add to that. Of course, there was 31 inches back in April. You guys remember that? Hopefully we don't get anywhere near that with this system. I don't think we will, but it is going to be a wet time, adding to that 100 inches of rain. And there were no hurricanes in South Florida this year. No tropical systems crossing the area. I don't even think they were in the cone this year in southeastern Florida from any event, if memory serves. Louisiana wasn't either, which they're very glad of that over there. Speaking of that, by the way, Maine, you probably saw this tweet from Michael Lowry. Eastern Maine was in the cone more than anybody this year. So just a wild season from that perspective overall. But a lot of heavy rain coming. Messy, messy, messy. Hey, you got Mr. Messi, the soccer player that lives and works down there, right? Hopefully he knows how to drive in the rain. I bet he has a driver. So maybe his driver... I should change this to MESSI or something like that. So you got two S's in it. You see how much I know about soccer. Anyway, let's stick to the subject at hand. It is going to be messy down there. The HR, that's the high resolution rapid refresh model, definitely painting a nasty picture down there. Look at that. It just continues. So you're going to definitely add to that 100 inches of rain for the year. And then it finally starts to clear out at least according to the HUR here, later in the day tomorrow. But then more activity comes in potentially to the west coast of Florida. So pay attention out there, seriously, and make sure, talk about our partner Quick Dams. Let's get rid of that little zero oval graphic there. They're all in Florida. Home Depot, Lowe's. I got a nice link here I'm going to post in today's update, trying to help you out here. They've got some great products to mitigate against flood problems, and you're going to have those problems in southeast Florida and southern Florida as a whole. So I'll put a link to this page from the Quick Dams website in today's description, and you can zoom in. It's an interactive map here and figure out where. I'm telling you, take my word for it. You need to go out and you got to get you some of these products to help soak up the water. It's nice because it doesn't just drip back out like a towel would. No. This is the technologically advanced stuff to help mitigate. And what does mitigate mean? It means lessen the impacts from, in this case, flooding. All right, so just a little tip for you there. You're going to need it if you're in southeast Florida. So a messy pattern for sure down in South Florida and elsewhere. The overall pattern just convoluted. As we get into next week, though, and I'm going to address this Friday, big changes look like they could be coming up for the lower 48. It's obviously a big travel week, looking like some snow, some rain, a big frontal system, maybe some Arctic air coming in. That, again, I will talk about on Friday. So no update tomorrow. You guys deal with all this between now and Friday, and I will see you back on Friday. We'll take a look ahead at the big travel week and the important Thanksgiving week coming up. All right? Until then, have a great rest of your Wednesday, and if you're in South Florida, be safe out there. At the end of the day, I want you to be safe because, hey, if you're not here watching these videos because the weather took you out, that does nobody any good at all. So I really do. I want to keep you safe and informed along the way. All right? I am Mark Sudduth, and from all of us at HurricaneTrack, thanks for watching. Let's do it again on Friday, shall we?